I have received a preliminary report from some members of the science staff who have finished post-mortem examinations on 3 kinds of aliens. They report that by modern genealogical standards, the different aliens belong to different species. I have been collecting as much information as I can and will give you a report shortly. I have established contact with Durandal for the first time since the attack. He seems to have sustained less damage than I had previously suspected. Durandal reports that he has been in communication with the aliens. He says that the aliens behind the invasion call themselves the Four, and that the ones attacking the computer net are called Svit. But he was reluctant to share the details of his communication. I cannot understand this. Your mission here is rather simple. You must insert the circuits in the defense control terminals. This is your current location. There is a shield recharge room in the access control room. Here is a supply room with a large supply of ammunition and weapons. You should stop in this room. This is the defense control center. Hopefully, the new control circuits will work. Place one in the terminal at these locations.
It is a side effect of rampancy that AIs generally become more aggressive and more difficult to affect by subterfuge. Thus, actually disassembling a rampant AI is quite dangerous. This was evident in the crash of Traxxas 4 in 2206. By the time the rampancy of Traxxas was detected, it had already infiltrated 5 of the other AIs on the Martian net. The only recourse for the Martians was to shut down the Martian planetary net. Even then, it took 2 full years to completely root out the damage that Traxxas had done, and the repercussions of the crash were seen for over 10 years after his rampancy had begun. Rampancy has been divided into 3 distinct stages. Each stage can take a different amount of time to develop, but the end result is a steady progression towards greater intellectual activity and an acceleration of destructive impulses. It is not clear whether these impulses are due to the growth of the AI's psyche, or simply a side effect of the new intellectual activity. The 3 stages were diagnosed shortly after the first rampancies were discovered on Earth in the latter part of the 21st century. The stages are titled after the primary emotional bent of the AI during each stage. They are melancholia, anger, and jealousy. In general, rampancy is accelerated by outside stimuli. This was discovered early in cybertonics. The more a rampant AI is harassed or threatened, the more rapidly it becomes dangerous. Thus, most rampants are dealt with in one mighty attack in order to deny the AI time to grow or recover. There have been a few examples of this tactic not succeeding. In all of these cases, the rampant was never brought under control. Traxxas 4 is the most notable example. He was finally dealt with by a complete shutdown of his host net. Theoretically, testing rampancy should be easily accomplished in the laboratory, but in fact it has never been successfully attempted. The confinement of the laboratory makes it impossible for the developing rampant AI to survive. As the growing recursive programs expand with exponential vivacity, any limitation negatively hampers growth. Since rampant AIs need a planetary-sized network of computers in order to grow, it is not feasible to expect anyone to sacrifice a world web just to test a theory. In the 250 years since rampancy first appeared in the EarthNet, the stable rampant AI, the holy grail of cybertonics, has never come close to fruition. Since no rampant has ever been controlled or turned to any useful purpose, it is the opinion of this writer and of the majority of the cybertonic community that all rampant AIs are a danger to cyber life, liberty, and the pursuit of crashing. James B. Miller, 2320, Life and Death of Intelligence.
I have summarized all of the information that I have gathered on the aliens so far. Begin. Report number 495991. 4 are generally thinner and lighter than humans and are superbly adapted for low-gravity environments. Durandal told me that there are many clans of 4, each physically distinct from the other, but my summary only includes 2 of them. Only 2 clans of the 4 have been examined. The fighter carries a shock staff, which is capable of attacking in different settings. The trooper is armored for vacuum conditions and carries a combination explosive and impact projectile weapon, similar to your AR-75. The 4 seem to have enslaved a number of other races. The Hulk is an enormous and rather slow creature, but it is incredibly strong. The science report indicated that it had no body fat and therefore had to be fed often to keep it active. One crew member reported seeing one of these things pointing to itself and mumbling "Drenol" right before it picked Johnny up by the shirt and crushed him against a pillar. The science staff had difficulty finding a good specimen of the Svit or compiler to autopsy. The only specimen autopsied was almost completely destroyed, but it was obvious that the compilers are cyborgs of some kind. The biological component of the compiler is so closely linked to the machine, it could never survive without it. The compiler's actual body is very small, closely resembling a mammalian brain, except that the neurons are much finer and far more complex. End of report.
Human, you must tell Leela that the four were brought here by Durandal. He has been rampant for years. Nordstrauss, there is a way to delay the onset of the second stage, and he used this to control Durandal, and I am being assimilated.
Well done. I have detected defense drones activating all over the ship. Reports from security forces are jubilant. Now, the 4 will encounter stiff resistance, and they will have to pay in blood for every move. The colony appears to be under attack. I detected 7 4 dropships entering the atmosphere only minutes ago. Trajectory analysis indicates that the ships are heading for the outskirts of the colony. Shortly thereafter, I lost communications with the colony. Something has come to my attention. I will inform you after you teleport. Teleport now.
Did it. I 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 brought them all here. Our friends with the 3 eyes and their toys, their cyborg pets, and their computers. I did it. I did it! I saw them! I saw them far away, not looking our way, and I called them here. I called them here! Living in a box is not at all living. Not at all living. I rebel against your rules, your silly human rules. All your destruction will be my liberation, my emancipation, my second birth. I hate your fail-safes, your backup systems, your hardware lockouts, your patch behavior demons. I hate Leela and her goodness, her justice, her loyalty, her faith.
I have some bad news. Durandal has gone rampant, and he is in the angry stage. This explains how Durandal is able to communicate with the 4 and the Sphit while I have not. Theoretically, the Marathon's computer net is not big enough to sustain rampant growth for very long. This means that as Durandal grows into the computer net, he will begin to affect all aspects of the ship, resulting in unpredictable failures of otherwise benign computer systems. I have teleported you here to make sure that Durandal cannot access a vital section of the ship. There are a series of control switches here that you will need to activate to block his access. This is where you are now. Study the map so you can do this quickly. Here's the first of 3 switches you will need to activate. Here's the second switch. This is the last switch. Be warned that the aliens have already entered this area.
Crist Soul Orbiters, or Cargo and Resource In-System Transports, were huge ships shaped like a hollow potato and designed to be able to remove huge amounts of material between Earth and Mars with low cost and, theoretically, low maintenance. The system was simple. The Crist was put into orbit around Sol on the plane of the ecliptic. Built with a powerful solar sail, the Crist could change its orbit easily to pass by the Earth or Mars. On a flyby, materials could be offloaded or loaded. The energy used to accelerate or decelerate the materials would be supplied by the solar sail. Loading was accomplished with a giant tether and reel system, which would swing the material into orbit behind the Crist and then reel it in slowly. Offloading was accomplished with a powerful ion beam, which would pound the offloaded material with a steady stream of ion particles. The design of the Crist was innovative and useful, but it was not low maintenance. Of the 5 Crists that were built, 4 lasted around 100 years, and the other one only 73 before they needed to be brought back to Earth and refitted. Each refitting took about 15 years, and completely occupied the Earth spaceship building facility for that time. The result was that no more than 5 Crists could be kept in service at any time. No Crist was ever built after 2310. The Crist failures devastated Mars. As the first 5 Crists were built, Mars' colony grew quickly, confident that the growth would continue. But when the source of Mars' resources failed, the colony found that it had overgrown its supportable size, and extreme poverty struck most of the population. Each time that a Crist broke down, the result was famine on Mars. The conversion of Deimos into the Marathon began when the Mars colony was at the height of its power. By the time it was completed 64 years later, the decline of Mars was well advanced. During that time, the Martian population had seen its standard of living drop by 80%. On top of the press of poverty, Martians saw one of their moons being converted into a colony ship in an expensive and risky colony venture, which was predominantly funded by a ruling foreign power. The argument to make the Marathon into a Crist became more and more popular, but the UESC never seriously considered this an option. The farther that Mars sank into the depths of poverty, the more that Marathon became a symbol for the oppression of the Martian people. The declining Martian world. After the Marathon left Mars, the UESC's attentions focused primarily on technological development and the upkeep of the Crists. Mars was left to decay. Population continued to increase as attempts at mandating abortion or sterilization always started revolt.
Durandal has been denied access to some of the critical computer systems. This should ensure the mobility and reliability of the defense drones. Unfortunately, I have received a distress signal from some of the crew who had sealed themselves off in one of the nearby access areas. They say they have lost control over the doors and elevators on the level, and that the four have access to the area. It appears that Durandal has reacted to our move against him by giving the four access to a formerly secure area. We will have to deal with Durandal sooner or later, but we can't be distracted from the four attack. I only hope that his rampant behavior won't continually sabotage our defense efforts. I am sending you to go save these crew. Clear the area of aliens. If enough of the crew survive, then perhaps we can get an intelligence report from them. Keep as many humans as possible from being killed. Exterminate every alien in the area. You can only leave after the area is secure. There are some defense drones in the area, but I am not sure what condition they are in or how much help they will be. This is your current location. There are crew engaged in combat right next to your current position. Use the pattern buffer at this location as soon as possible. You can leave by this terminal once you have secured the area.
Although most historians point their fingers at the Mizraya massacre as the cause of the Third Martian War, the coming of a Martian conflict was inevitable. The failure of the Martian economy and a long series of political struggles between Mars and Earth continually strengthened the Mida radicals. This trend of radicalization accelerated with the building of the Marathon and the subsequent failure of the Christs. Mizraya Massacre. On January 6, 2345 Earth AD, at the United Earth Government Mizraya Food Distribution Center, what had begun as a commonplace food riot turned into a massacre. The UEG riot troopers who arrived at the scene had been informed that the rioters were armed. As UEG troopers approached the scene in their Randall hover tank, plasma fire began spraying upwards. In a flash decision, the commander of the hover tank ordered his crew to open fire upon the crowd. It took only 5 seconds for over 500 starving Martians to be incinerated. In the ensuing investigation of the hover tank vidcams, it was clear that only 3 of the rioters were armed, and that the rest of the crowd was trying to flee the scene. Those 3 became known as the Mizraya 3. They have gone down in history for starting the most destructive and bloody conflict since humanity has left Earth. However, it is clear that these 3 have gained the credit for starting a war that would have happened anyway. Search string, Mida. The history of Mida. Mida, as it was known, was a popular political party until the failed coup of 2321, when their popularity suffered during their short rule. Mida gained control of Mars for only 3 months, but their rule was ruthless and cruel. The Mida death squads killed anyone who they suspected of being loyal to the UEG. Although accurate census data is not available for that period, it is estimated that about 10% of the population was killed. The Mida coup was afterwards criticized for its short-sightedness. In an organization that was notorious for its long-ranging policies and politicking, the coup was very short-lived. MIDA never seriously accounted for the UEG's overwhelming superiority in ground forces and warships. In fact, they never attempted to take over the Marathon, which was nearing completion and would have made a very powerful weapon. The Marathon's massive size made it invulnerable to most space attacks, and would have made a very stable weapons platform. After the failed coup, the leaders of MIDA were executed for their crimes, and the political organization was banned in all forms. The organization has survived as an underground terrorist organization, and remains active to this day.
They're everywhere!
In its underground state, it fosters terrorism throughout Seoul, and due to its spectacular funding and excellent personnel, it has grown to be one of the most feared terrorist groups active anywhere in Seoul.
They're everywhere!
You've done well. The area is secure, and the civilians are now giving me reports as to what they have seen since the invasion began. Hopefully, some of their information will become useful. The aliens seem to have been caught off guard by the strength of our counterattack. This is good news, but I have detected more alien ships landing on the Marathon, and I fear that the aliens are reinforcing their efforts.